Tell your friends, let people know. Sharon Dubiago will be reading next April 4th, along with Shetty Monaga. And open mic, 6 to 8. Come on out, bring your books, and bring your friends. I want to start off, we're going to be alternating, kind of grading voices together as we go. I'm Lorna Dee Cervantes, and I want to start off this open mic with a couple of poems from someone a mission poet who passed a number of years ago. He was an AIDS activist, a surrealist poet, a collagist artist, Ronnie Burke. And this is a brand new book done by a press here in San Francisco. This is his book collection, posthumous collection, Skyboat. America. She is expensive, but has cheap taste. When she's not hallucinating clean water in a plastic bottle, she's spending money on facelifts, bust implants, and cancer-producing vaginal inserts. Keep her happy. Choking in radium pills, craving Diet Cokes and fat-free potato chips, her fingers severing hands to do her shit work. Dipped in the flesh of dead Indians, cooked in Texas chili sauce. Florida becomes a small penis stuck between her sagging breasts. The Andes form the topographies of her cellulite thighs. What is Mexico, if not the armpit of her muff, masturbating to the droning sounds of atomic explosions, her plush existence held together with collateral damage. That was Ronnie Burke, America. This is 1996. And I'll just read a couple sections. It's a long poem. The white buffalo has left for the moon. The missing arms of Venus de Milo sweep up a shiny nickel amongst the marble trees. The seals of the earth covered in quicklime. The ancestral pit of bones broken open. This grave we somehow live in. Chinese sparklers clear the way, fountains from which I can see you, waltzing Matilda of the hereafter. There's nothing to do. Vegetable curses, vampire nurses. Madame Blavatsky puts on her shark fin corset, televangelical apparition of Jesus and the sewage trust fund. It's all a mirage. Green lines at their battle stations. Bees, the dwarf embossed on the cornice of jade. Molten dragons, the golden city born from a cupboard full of Shaktis. The cord maidens have left their sky compartments. White doe moccasins doing somersaults on a high wire. Salt serpent, rose is the diagram. I'm looking for the crystal point the world revolves on. That snake of feathers rainbowed in a hoop of dew. Mr. Fix-It's typewritten a coded message. Oahu's the land of Adam Cadmon. Anti-brake lock on the Beltway in Zodiac City. Metal detecting ice blue snow in a coconut grove. A gamelan orchestra on an intricately carved barge of teak wood sinks a hairline fracture into you, my alabaster freezer. Window box gardening, fluid star growth. Joseph lives in the spherical dreams of a little girl's soap commercial. King Kamehameha in Moctezuma's headdress, his face fading on a wet slab of obsidian. Dracula administering injections of frozen Buddhas, mirroring the sky zone, discarding backbone, wet from rose water. Frida's diary opens on Nosferatu's head in the crystal cabinet of Dr. Caligari, hawking snake oil at the Money Hole Brewery, Kamakura riding the light switch back to hell. It was a taste of Ronnie Burke, who passed years ago. I just wanted to open this open mic with a very open poet, a poet I first published years ago in 1977, published his first book. So, my name is Lorna Dee Cervantes, welcome, and I'd like to open this reading. I'll be reading along with Jim Powell, and I'm celebrating 30 years since the publication of this book and the reading and the mission of this book, Emplumada. Here's an early poem of history from this book. Poema para los Californios Muertos. And there's a plaque outside a restaurant in Los Altos, California, that in 1974 that said, once a refuge for Mexican Californios. These older towns die into stretches of freeway. The high scaffolding cuts a clean Caesarean across belly valleys and fertile dust. What a bastard child, this city, lost in the soft llorando de las madres. Californios moan like husbands of the raped, husbands de la tierra, la madre. I run my fingers across this brass plaque. Its cold stirs in me a memory of silver buckles and spent bullets, of embroidered shawls and dark rebosos. Yo recuerdo los antepasados muertos, los recuerdo en la sangre fertil. And what refuge did you find here, ancient Californios? Now at this restaurant nothing remains but this old oak and an ill-placed plaque. Is it true that you still live here in the shadows of these white high-class houses? Soy la hija, pobrecita, pero puedo maldecir estas fantasmas blancas. Las fantasmas tuyas deben aquí quedarse, solas las tuyas. In this place I see nothing but strangers. On the shelves there are bitter antiques, Yankee remnants y estos no de los Californios. A blue jay shrieks above the pungent odor of crushed eucalyptus and the pure scent of rage. And we're going to be trading off poems. So Jim Powell.
I also wanted to start with a poem by another poet, by Robert Duncan, who lived in this neighborhood 4 blocks that way for over a quarter century. Died 24 years ago, this past February 4th. It's called Keeping the Rhyme. It's from his watershed collection, Opening in the Field. Keeping the Rhyme. By stress and syllable, by change rhyme and contour, we let the long line pace even awkward to its purity. The short line we refine and keep for candor. This we remember. Ember of the fire catches the word, if we but hear. We must understand what is happening and springs to desire, a bird-right light sound. This is the Yule log that warms December. This is the new grass that springs from the ground. I asked Lorna to read a poem from the Nevada, which I think she's gonna, and then I thought, well, if she's gonna read something from her first book, I should do the same. This is a poem called The Weaver. It's from my first collection, The Atmosphere That Made the World. The Weaver. Inside the four-square, heavy, oak-beamed frame that supports his loom, in one corner of a cold, gray plastered room, the weaver sits alone. He smokes a pipe and does not see the hand his gaze rests on, left motionless on the shuttle, or the cloth emerging from it like a broad scarlet tongue. He wants to feel content, but each knot is a broken thread bound into the fine, smooth web. His life outside this room is snarled and ragged. If he could only sit inside his loom, as his brother does, at peace, intently dreaming what will have been his time into the careful fabric, he would not notice how these walls remind him of the blackening snow shoved to the cobbled gutters he'll walk along toward home this evening, and stop and light his pipe again, and watch the smoke curl from the glowing bowl, and then resume his work, sitting alone in the open cage of his loom. This collection is called Substrate, published it about 2 years ago. It collects work from about the past 20 years. It opens with a poem called The Resurrection of the Body, and I mentioned Israfel. The lore of angels comes from ancient Persia, from the Zoroastrians and from predecessors of the Zoroastrians. It comes from ancient Persia into the Hebrew Bible and into Christian tradition. In that tradition, the equivalent of Gabriel, who blows the trumpet of the last, he blows the last trumpet and says that time shall be no more and roll up the school of time. In that angel in Persian tradition is named Israfel. The resurrection of the body, naked as the day they were born the first time, the newly resurrected blink awake, wide-eyed, and caper innocent under heaven in the final clarity of eternal everyday, like nudists without tennis shoes, unstartled to resume bodies homely as the first, lumpish and pointy-elbowed, adult but not worn, like a loved coat remade, a perfect fit, comfortable as an animal with a soul at home, entirely instinct with uncareful grace. The sting of seasons sated at the feast where every head is numbered, pleasure's instrument, enslaved to pain, luck's buried hook and fatal bar of risk, blunted this time, lost in the blast this morning from the horn of Israfel. And I'll read a new poem, fairly new poem. This is the view of San Francisco from the Berkeley Bay Shore, and it's called Figment. The The silhouettes of bicyclists fly south after sunset in pairs and alone along the bay shore. Dusk is closing in. Exposed above slack water at low tide, the canted, mastless hulks of scuttled small craft, nose down in bottom ooze, stems lifted, sterns lifted, leering. Across the bay, a rust rose afterglow surmounts. I'm going to start over with this. This is the first time I read it aloud, so excuse me. Figment. The silhouettes of bicyclists fly south after sunset in pairs and alone along the bay shore. Dusk is closing in. Exposed above slack water at low tide, the canted, mastless hulks of scuttled small craft, nose down in bottom ooze, sterns lifted, leering. Across the bay, a rust rose afterglow surmounted with a band of murky turquoise deploys above the towers of San Francisco to meet the deeper indigo of nearing dark, which Venus pierces, her naked point higher nightly, evening star, goddess, oh sovereign figment glinting like a nail, against which I keep hammering my skull. I'll read one more and then back to you. And this is called The Seamstress, and it was inspired by a mutual friend of Lorna's and mine, Cynthia Ponce, who is a member from way back in Teatro Campesino, and also a kindergarten teacher she teaches in Hollister. This is called The Seamstress, Dia de los Muertos. The Seamstress. Knelt in the middle of the kitchen floor at midnight. There's only so much you can do to mend the skeleton, spread eagle on the linoleum, painted in faded dayglow and black leotard. The fabric stretches over time. The fibers strain and give and never spring back all the way. Needle and thread stitch up the raveled sleeve. A sponge blots fresh fluorescence onto spine and rib cage. But light leaks through the brittle weave. The needle's eye grows dimmer, the grasp less sure, and joints ache on the cold floor, down again on hands and knees to see the kindergartners dance in the bones of the ancestors.
Which was the poem you wanted me to read?
Freeway 280.
What's that?
Freeway 280.
Thank you.
Could you move towards us a little bit?
Yeah.
Would that be possible?
Yeah, the table was moved back. They're older poem from this book, Freeway 280. Las casitas near the gray cannery, nestled amid wild abrazos of climbing roses and man-high red geraniums, are gone now. The freeway conceals it all beneath a raised scar. But under the fake wind sounds of the open lanes, in the abandoned lots below, new grasses sprout, wild mustard remembers. Old gardens come back stronger than they were. Trees have been left standing in their yards. Albaricoqueros, cerezos, nogales. Viejitas come here with paper bags to gather greens, espinaca, verduladas, hierbabuena. I scramble over the wire fence that would have kept me out. Once I wanted out. Wanted the rigid lanes to take me to a place without sun, without the smell of tomatoes burning on swing shift in the greasy